Hi, welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be all about life-changing habits that got me into medical school. I want to emphasize how much these habits changed the entire trajectory of my life. Before these, I was directionless, engulfed by self-doubt, and unable to make progress on any goals I set. So I was constantly quitting on everything I started. But after I started implementing these habits, something crazy happened. I became a version of myself that went all in on anything I wanted to do. What I realized was that when people said that you have to act successful in order to be successful, what they're trying to say is that you need to implement the proper routines, systems, and habits that allow you to be a more successful version of yourself. I truly feel that getting into medical school was a byproduct of these habits. For those of you who are new, my name is Monica. I finished my third year of medical school a few months ago, and I'm currently in my research year. I make content about discipline, studying tips, productivity, and mindset that helps pre-meds and med students navigate the field of medicine. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Let's get right into this video. So why are habits so important? The reason why habits are so important, they allow you to become the person who gets what you want. Habits are almost like these unconscious scripts that play in the background of our lives but end up determining 90% of our results. If you're interested in developing habits that will get you to the goals that you want, keep watching this video. First habit is taking the right responsibility. I call this the Broadman's principle, and it's based off of this old fable about a farmer who spent years cultivating his crops. And then one year, a drought completely annihilated his harvest. The farmer refused to accept it. "I just need to work harder," he said. And so every day he would wake up before dawn carrying pails of water to his field, sweating under the hot sun. He even planted rain charms all around his field as if he could somehow influence the sky. And every morning he'd wake up and go outside and hope and pray for rain. But no matter what he did, the sky stayed clear and his soil got drier. As days turned into weeks, the farmer became more and more depressed. One evening, after a particularly hard day, he sat by the edge of his field, his hands stained with dirt and his heart heavy, and asked, "Why can't I make it rain?" Just then his neighbor, an older farmer, walks up to him and notices his despair. He says, "We can't control the rain no matter how much we try. Some years the weather just won't cooperate." The farmer sighed, feeling defeated, and said, "What can I do? If it doesn't rain, I'll lose everything." The older farmer nodded and gently said, "You can't control the weather, that's true. But there are things you can control. Maybe instead of fighting the drought, you can work with it. Focus on what's within your reach." From that point on, the farmer started to see things differently. He stopped trying to make it rain and instead shifted his efforts on things he could control. He researched drought-resistant plants that could survive on little water and planted them. He mulched his soil to retain as much moisture as possible. He fixed leaks in his irrigation system to make use of every single drop. And gradually, his fields adapted. At the end of the season, the farmer's harvest was smaller than usual. It was something. Importantly, he learned that he didn't need to control everything, just the things within his power. The farmer's story illustrates the core of Broadman's principle. Having clarity around what you can control is the first step to establishing meaningful goals, which in turn results in effective habits. In the beginning, we saw the farmer throw himself into changing things that were completely outside of his control, like the weather. This is similar to what I would do in college when I was a pre-med. I would take all these science classes and then pray for good grades, rather than establishing systems that would help me succeed. I had this terrible self-talk about myself and my abilities, telling myself that I couldn't succeed, that I wasn't as smart as everybody around me, that I didn't have what it takes to get into medical school. I failed to recognize that my issue wasn't my potential, but it was my approach towards my goals. How many of us do the same exact thing? How many times do we let our self-doubt cloud our perspective and blame ourselves for the outcomes rather than taking a step back and reassessing our strategies? In the end, the Broadman's principle teaches us that meaningful change and effective goals start with taking responsibility for ourselves, building habits within our circle of influence, and letting the rest go. The second habit is working out. Now, I credit working out to creating 98% of the results in my life. I want to be clear here. Working out can mean so many different things to people. It could mean a HIIT workout, a spin class, a jog outside, a run outside, a walk outside, a walk inside, or even stretching. Regardless of what it looks like, the reason why I credit working out to creating so many of the results in my life is because what the act of working out consistently gave me was a framework around doing things I didn't want to do in order to get what I wanted. Some days, putting on workout clothes and going on a run or going to the gym is the last thing I want to do. But then I sit there and visualize how good that workout's going to feel, how much more alert I'm going to be the next day, how much better my sleep is going to be that day, how much better my study sessions are going to be. And that mindset can be applied to achieving any goal in your life. When you visualize the benefit of achieving a goal, it makes the process of actually taking that action a lot more manageable. The next habit for me was reading. Reading made me realize how not unique any of my problems were. What reading gives us is the ability to normalize our pain points and to give us insight into how other people have solved problems very similar to ours. I've always been an avid reader, but I focused for most of my life on fiction. But when I started reading nonfiction, I realized it was essentially like having mentors at your fingertips, available at any time of the day. Even when I couldn't find a book that dealt with the exact same problem I was having, what I realized is that there's so many similarities between yourself and someone who's achieved massive success in their life, even if the success looks different. For me, reading gave me an avenue to access other people's wisdom and to tap into a body of knowledge that allowed me to become a version of myself that could achieve any goal. If you're interested, I linked 5 books that had the biggest impact on my journey to becoming a doctor in the description box below. Next habit is being intentional with the influences in your life. There's a saying that you're the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And the reason why I believe this is true is because your environment, and this includes your home, possessions, the people in our lives especially, shape our beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors a lot more than we realize. Now, it's easy to hear this and think to yourself, okay, I'm going to cut out anything or anyone that doesn't perfectly align with my goals. But that kind of thinking is overly rigid, isolating, and completely unhelpful. Instead, I would urge you to develop a habit of periodically reevaluating the influences in your life and asking yourself one very important question. And that question is whether these people, places, or things are allowing you to be the person that you're striving to become. It's not necessary for everyone in your life to have the same exact ambitions as you. But what is important is that they uplift and encourage you, and you do the same with them. In the end, the right influences don't just align with your goals. They help you stay grounded, motivated, and open to growth. And it's a consistent habit that you build into your life to constantly ask yourself this one question. By nurturing relationships and environments that fuel your growth, you create a support system that reinforces your journey and helps you stay focused and resilient in the face of challenges. The last habit is changing your relationship with failure. Now, this is a hard one because it requires undoing a lot of your socialization so far. And especially if you're going into a field like medicine, where it feels like there's always a right answer, it becomes doubly hard. All our exams, courses, assignments kind of reinforce this idea that there's always a right answer or a wrong answer. There's success or there's failure. And more often than not, especially in the beginning, you'll pick the wrong answer more than you'll pick the right answer. And newsflash, you could be 10 years into practicing medicine, but if you're doing something new, you're going to do it wrong a lot more than you're going to do it right. It helps differentiate people who bounce back from those mistakes a lot quicker than people who don't is how they view their failure. And that's a relationship that I had to develop with myself. I had to radically change my inner dialogue anytime I made a mistake. It is so easy to get emotional about our mistakes, to tie our self-worth into the outcomes that we're getting. But once you uncouple that relationship between self-worth and outcome, you start seeing everything differently. Changing your relationship with failure means understanding that failure is not a reflection of your value or your potential. Instead, it's just feedback. In medicine and in life, mistakes are inevitable. They're not a sign that you're not good enough, but instead proof that you're pushing your boundaries and growing. When I reframed my relationship with failure and started viewing it as a teacher rather than as a judgment, I realized how much faster I started accomplishing my goals. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.